We are on the brink of the second season of the PWHL, the Professional Women's Hockey League, and CBC is a home of women's hockey. The season starts November 30th. Toronto will be hosting the Boston Fleet. I'll be ringside bringing you all the fun. And for all your extra PWHL goodies, we'll be breaking down the action right here, right now on Hockey North. My name's Anastasia Bucsis. I am your host. Please give a warm welcome for the one and only Karissa Donkin, our very own hockey insider. There is so much to talk about, Karissa. I don't even know where to start. It's great to see your face. I mean, we're just on the eve of this second season. Like, how excited are you? Let's start with an easy one.
Yeah, it's kind of like Christmas Eve. It's like Women's Hockey Eve, like you get your milk and your cookies and you leave them out and then you wake up the next morning and you have a bunch of hockey to watch. That's what it feels like for me right now.
That's a perfect way to say it. Okay, we could be honestly talking for probably 3 hours because I know that we love this sport so much. So let's just quickly give an overview for some of the larger narratives. Can we start with Toronto? I mean, immediately, my first question is Natalie Spooner. Where's she at? How's she doing? What does this team look like without Spooner as well? Because she's on long-term injury reserve right now.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, obviously, she was the best player last season. She was the best player in the league. And, some unfortunate news that came out last week that she's not going to be ready for the season opener for Toronto. And then in the meantime, what does it look like without her? So to put it into perspective from, looking at the numbers last season, she accounted for almost a third of Toronto's goals. And then if you zoom into the power play, she accounted for about 64% of the team's power play goals. So that leaves a huge hole in their lineup to not have her there. But in saying that, Anastasia, we know that they brought in Daryl Watts. So that was Ottawa's top goal scorer over the offseason. It's going to be really interesting to see how they utilize her. And then the other player to watch to kind of fill that void left by Natalie Spooner at the beginning of the season is Julia Gosling. So this was Toronto's first round draft pick, and she brings a lot of the same elements that Natalie Spooner does. She's got the size, she plays that kind of power forward game. And after she was drafted earlier this year, Natalie Spooner actually said, she's got a better shot than I do. So it'll be really interesting to see, what she can bring in her first season in the league.
It will be interesting. And actually, funny that you say that. I have it on Goodwill how many professional hockey players have said Natalie Spooner's shot is the hardest in the league. So yes, it'll be really interesting to see what Gosling does. Okay, the Ottawa Charge. I am a massive fan of Carla McLeod. She is one of the most inspirational coaches and people that I think I've ever met, to be honest. Just quick fun fact, I played beer league slow pitch with her. And she made me feel like I could do anything. I mean, I'd be like jogging to first base and she'd, good hustle. So I'm not worried that she can, steer this team to where they want to go. But they do have to tighten up a little bit defensively.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree with you on Carla McLeod, by the way. I mean, I would listen to Carla McLeod read the phone book. I would feel encouraged if Carla McLeod told me to do anything. If Carla McLeod told me to run up a hill, I would do it. But yeah, no, I think that was definitely an issue with Ottawa last season. The team allowed the second most goals in the PWHL, and they did have, I really think Ottawa had some unfortunate luck last season. And when we're talking about teams that didn't make the playoffs and that did, there really was a pretty small margin. I think there is a bit more defensive depth on this team than we saw last year. So they're going into camp with 6 defenders signed, and I believe another 4 players who can play on the blue line coming to camp or already in camp, I suppose, as well. And the biggest addition on D is Ranja Savalainen. So this is a veteran player coming in from the Swedish Women's Hockey League. She has been a huge part of the Finnish national team for a long time, a huge part of a championship team in Sweden as well. And you can expect her to bring a lot of size, a lot of physicality. I was talking to her back in April about the prospect of playing in the PWHL and, what she thinks about the physicality. And she said, my size on the ice, I don't even think about hitting. It just kind of like happens. So that's kind of a fun thought, I think, for Ottawa fans to have her out there on the blue line. I think she's going to be a huge part of this team. So I'm really excited to see how they're going to utilize her.
It's really exciting. That's one of the big things that I'm excited to kind of unfold and watch. Montreal. Okay. From my perspective, they got a few lovely little opportunities. Late round draft picks, low risk, high rewards. Two names that come to mind immediately, of course. We'll get into it. But let's start with Lena Youngblom.
This is a player who's still only 23 years old. She was taken with the very last pick in the draft in 2023. Didn't come over from Sweden at that point because she still had a contract in the Swedish league, but is coming over now. And my understanding is when she was over in Sweden last season, really worked on her game without the puck. And I had a conversation this week with her previous coach in Sweden and, just asked him, what do you expect her to bring to Montreal? And he said he expects her to be a high intensity player who's going to show off a really great shot. And for some players coming over from playing on the bigger ice, it can be a bit of an adjustment to playing on the smaller ice. But for her, he doesn't think that that's going to be an issue. In fact, it might actually be an advantage for her game. So he's hoping to see her, get a chance in the top six, maybe on Marie-Philippe Poulin's wing. That could obviously be a place that I'm sure Montreal would love to see her thrive in. I would say that's a pick that, is really interesting. And for me, that's the biggest thing I'm going to be watching for Montreal is what do they have in her and what can she bring?
That was a big question for Amanda Kessel as well. What's the status there?
Yeah, so we know, she's not in training camp and she's, got a whole other career going on. But it was another example, I think, of, hey, this is the second last pick of the draft. Why not, right? And if she did come over, obviously that would be a big reward. She's a fantastic player. And it is important to note that Montreal does retain her rights for 2 years. So if for some reason she, changes her mind and decides that she does want to play in this league, then Montreal still has her rights next season. So it's not bad to try, right? And you have to credit Danielle Sauvageau for doing that.
Karissa, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much. We are both so excited. Again, first game kicks off or puck drops on the 30th of November, 2 p.m. Eastern. You can watch that game on CBC. Toronto is hosting the Boston Fleet. I will be ringside. We're going to have lots to chat about on Hockey North. Thanks for joining us.